Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Keir Starmer, the child starver, has plumbed new depths in Stalinistic zeal. And this is probably a step too far. Whether this policy can be pulled off or not really depends on how good he is as a politician. For he is planning to change the way in which the Labour Party appoints and anoints its new leaders. He wants to change everything that stood for an awful long time and to remove the powers to select from the unions and from the members. He wants the Politburo to be allowed to decide the leader of the party. This is a startling new development. I don't believe it will go through. I think the paymasters in the union will not like it, and I think the members of the party will not like it. But if he can pull it off, it will be a coup like no other by any Labour leader in history. It is truly 1984 Stalinism. It's the only way of describing it. It is the hubris of the man is spectacular, let's face it. But he's falling into the trap of thinking that because he's the leader of the party, that he can lead the party. This is a trap that many people leading political parties think. They're not leaders in that sense. They are the chairman of a board. They have to get people to agree with them. But him and his allies are basically overarching in their achievement, and it's quite ambitious. I will grant you, it's an ambitious aim, but it probably won't happen. But the various factions in the party will fight themselves like rats in a sack over this. And for us on the outside looking in, it's going to be spectacularly, entertaining, I suppose. You have the history of the Conservative Party recently, which showed how Liz Truss was selected and she was apparently terrible, although they are now adopting her, or within the Tory party are adopting her position in terms of the economy, which is weird, isn't it? But then she wasn't quite as weffy as perhaps Rishi was. But they're citing Liz Truss as an example of what happens when you let members choose the leader. The members don't know anything. The members, they say, are stupid. This is what they're claiming and aiming at. And so they're using this Liz Truss debacle within the Tories as their excuse for a further, I suppose, assault on the democratic process within the Labour Party. And they're denying members' rights and members' votes. And they're claiming that this is to stop them getting a useless leader. Well, it hasn't stopped them in the past, has it? One only has to look back and see there have been quite a few of them. They've had a couple of good leaders, of course. Let's not be in denial. But they haven't had half a bunch of useless ones. One only, of course, has to think of the likes of Michael Foot. He was god-awful. Donkey jacket. It wasn't a donkey jacket, but the old donkey jacket at the cenotaph, that killed his chances. You had the Welsh windbag, Kinnock. He couldn't win anything. He was useless. And then, of course, Gordon Brown. Gordon Blimey, more like. But, they have had some truly, truly awful ones, like Blair, the war criminal. But they have had some great leaders. Unfortunately, one of the best leaders they ever had never made it to government, of course, and that was John Smith. He was a truly excellent politician and would have been a great leader, and possibly could have been a good Prime Minister of a Labour government, but sadly, it was never meant to be. His passing was mourned by, I think, everybody, regardless of political affiliation. But this massive constitutional change looks likely, if not to actually go through, to at least be discussed, debated and voted on. And of course, they've got their conference coming up soon. Now, we have to look at the real reason behind this. Yes, there is the argument it stops you getting a useless leader. I would suggest it's there to stop you getting a Corbynista leader. I think he wants this in place so that at no point can Angela Rayner be imposed over him as leader of the party. She is far more popular with the membership than he is, and he knows it. And if there is any question of competency or a loss of faith in his leadership within the Labour Party, then there will be a coup d'etat. He will go and he will fail. He knows it. Angela Rayner knows it. Everybody in the party knows it. Now, he does have his faithful few, but they're not enough to save his bacon. And that is one pig ready for to be skinned and cooked. He definitely is the ultimate gammon, one could say, with his big porky lying face. And every time he lies, his lips move. We know this. But the GMB would fight this tooth and nail. They give 2 million a year, is it something? Unite would fight it. Not Unite, Unison, my apologies. They would fight it. ASLEF, well, they're quite happy with their 14.5%, but they do give a lot of money in as well. So they don't want to be cut out. If they have no say, they won't get their massive pay rises. It's only the fact they have got that pay rise, their say, that gives them the pay rises. So all the unions probably fight it. So he'd have to bring a motion in to say that this could only be voted on by MPs, the Parliamentary Labour Party. And I wouldn't put it past him to try that. It's a strange bargaining ploy he would have. He could argue that by removing the power to veto, or at least the power to vote or whatever, from the unions and put it solely in the hands of MPs, it would stop extremists damaging the party in the country by becoming leader. And again, one only has to look at Corbyn for what happened there. Totally unelectable twice. And so, yes, he does have a point on that. And the unions backed Corbyn, but he was unelectable. So he does have that as a bargaining chip. But he is, I think, ultimately, he's terrified, I think, of democracy. He knows he only got in as leader of the country, as the Prime Minister, on 20% of the electorate, just by a quirk of our voting system. And he knows that it's going to be a one-term parliament. He knows now, day 53, that it's over. The gig's done. There's no more fun. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. Everybody's looking. If you're an MP, you're looking. And you know your seat's gone already for the next election. So, so he's absolutely terrified of democracy because his personal popularity is shrinking. It's into negative territory. I mean, negative territory, it's drilling down, isn't it? It's at the core of the earth at the moment. It's that far down. That his particular faction within the factional Tory party is, again, within the party, not popular, and has so many problems. It's got nothing left to offer politically except misery, poverty, and failure. There's nothing there. And it's just ripe, I think, for this period, which is when the opposition parties such as the Tories and Reform can make hay in the face of a flailing, destructive Labour Party infight or civil war between the 2 or 3 factions within. And so, yes, I think he'll want this. I don't think he'll get it, but I think there'll be a fight and a war over the right for the Parliamentary Labour Party to choose its leader. And I believe he also wants to get rid of the term deputy leader as an official position so that nobody can be placed there against the leader's will. And so give the power of position of the deputy leader as a function of being the leader. You choose who you want as your second in command. That seems reasonable. You can't work when your second in command is working actively against you, as Angela Rayner most certainly is. That's another reason, of course, he gave her all this housing. It's a way to show her up as being useless so they can vote her out and he can possibly have one of his yes men put in that position. That's just my theory. I'll stick to it. It's only a rumour, but it's a good one. Let me know what you think. Is Starmer desperate to control the party, and will the party let him? Bye.